Well, Maria, I'm not going to take firefighting advice from an arsonist. The Democrats had the majorities. They blew out the budget. They had the tons of wasteful spending, and we inherited a mess. And under President Trump's leadership, along with Speaker Johnson and Leader Thune, we are going to get the economy humming again via the private sector. This is a Main Street Working America bill. It is going to address the affordability crisis. We are going to increase working people's wages. And, the Democratic Party at present doesn't stand for anything. They're just against everything. And let's see where the economy is this time next year. Yeah. I think this bill, over the next year, we are going to see growth like we have not seen. And importantly, it is going to be non-inflationary growth, which is something the Democrats couldn't do.
Hey, what's going on, Bull Runners? Welcome back to the channel. Right now, the crypto world is buzzing with massive shifts, new laws, skyrocketing prices, and economic changes that could make or break your portfolio. The problem, most people are too overwhelmed to connect the dots, and by the time they do, the opportunity's gone. But don't worry, today I've got you covered with a clear path forward. In this video, we're diving into the exact headlines driving the market today, and I'll break it all down for you in simple terms so you can stay ahead. From a game-changing bill headed to President Trump's desk, to XRP's price teasing a breakout, we're unpacking it all, so stick with me because there's a ticking clock on these opportunities. You need to act fast and stay in the game, and here's the kicker. If you stick with me until the end, I'm pulling back the curtain on a secret crypto community that's quietly making moves in the shadows, and trust me, you don't want to miss this mysterious bonus. Plus, we are going to be heading over to X to find out all the breaking news that's happening in the crypto world today. We're also going to be deep diving into this article about XRP futures. Open interest jumps 30% as price chart has a pennant that's targeting $3.20 in the short term. And we'll be heading over to Forex Factor to check out all of the red folder news that came out today. Amazing positive numbers for the American economy. We'll also be jumping forward to next week so you can have an idea of what's going to be happening. Plus, stick with me until the very end of this video, or fast forward there now, where we're going to be covering XRP in the charts. We're going to be looking at this very important resistance that we're bouncing off again today. We're going to be taking a look at our long-term momentum and short-term momentum waves, and so much more in today's video. So if you're like most people where you don't have the opportunity to spend hours a day in the crypto news, well, that's what we do for you here on this channel every single day. So make sure you subscribe right now. And if you are still feeling bullish about this current bull run, let me know by commenting 777 down below. First things first, let's head over to CoinMarketCap and check out the overall health of the crypto market today.
We just launched Altcoin Pro University, where our research team gives you real-time altcoin picks with explosive potential for this bull run, along with 100+ expert curated classes crafted by industry experts to discover these gems yourself, on top of our live weekly calls every single week for in-depth crypto market analysis and daily updates. And that's just a fraction of what we offer inside of Altcoin Pro University. Just go through the link in the description below. Get in right now.
Total market cap for crypto is currently trading at $3.39 trillion and a good $118 billion worth of volume today. We did peak up into the green levels here on our chart. When you zoom out on the yearly, though, you can see we have done really well, creating an interesting bull flag pattern that's happening in the macro charts. Fear and greed index continues to tick up a tad. We got neutral zone still 54. When will we be creeping back into the green, getting into the greed? However, altcoin season index still lackluster, still at 23 out of 100, still full on Bitcoin season. And the reason that is because Bitcoin dominance just absolutely continues to rip to the upside. As we can see, currently at 64.4%. up 1.17% today. Since the dominance bottom, November 27th of 2022, Bitcoin dominance has continued to rise to the upside. Checking in on the Bitcoin ETFs, massive inflow day, $407 million inflows as of July 1st, a recovery from the previous day of June 30th, which was minus 342 million. So already recovering over to the positive side this week. Currently this week sitting at $167 million to the upside. Last week was a massive $2.1 billion worth of inflows into the Bitcoin ETFs. Ethereum ETFs not doing so hot today, but it has been a great run for the week for them, but down $1.9 million. When we zoom out, and we take a look at the weekly charts here, it has been continued inflows. The lowest week most recently was $40 million worth of inflows 2 weeks ago. Last week, $283 million. This week already, $70 million worth of inflows. And the reason I track the Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs for you guys is this is an indicator of volume, significant leading indicator that you must follow. Top 6 cryptos by total market cap. Bitcoin coming in at number 1, $109,000. Ethereum at $2,500. Tether at number 3 at $1. XRP at number 4 at $2.25. BNB at number 5, $663, and Solana wrapping it up number 6, $152. Heading over to Forex Factory, let's take a look at how amazing today was. First and foremost, non-farm employment change, meaning jobs. It's the change in the number of employed people during the previous month, excluding the farming industry, non-farm employment. We had a forecast of 111,000 jobs that were supposed to come to the market, and it was a massive beat to the upside. 147,000 jobs. Absolutely nuts. People were going crazy on X today, talking about how important this is. This means lots of job creation. Now, what's really interesting is this really strange number that most people didn't think was even a possible number came out yesterday from the non-farm payroll, which was the employment change. But as we can see right here, it was forecasted at 99,000, but it came out at minus 33,000. Now, this number comes from the Social Security rolls. Well, we know what's been going on with Social Security. They're actually removing false people. So this was an interesting number that came out. But this true number right here, non-farm employment, which is actually done by a real deal survey, a phone call going out to finding out if people are hiring and employing people, and it came out significantly higher than was forecasted. Everyone's charged up. Everyone's excited. On top of that, the unemployment rate, which was forecasted for 4.3%, comes in at 4.1%. Now, this is all really great news for the economy. The only bad news, unfortunately, that comes from this type of powerful news is the fact that Jerome Powell will not be cutting rates, especially seeing this numbers right here, because this shows the economy is strong. Most of the time when the economy is weak, that's when you reduce interest rates. Right now, the economy is rip-roaring, and this just gives more ammo for Jerome Powell to not cut rates. Jumping over to X to find out all the breaking news. So as you heard in the intro of the video, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent came out and said, I'm not going to take firefighting advice from economic arsonists like Rep. Jeffries. Now, I will have to give Jeffries a little bit of credit. The man just finally stopped talking. He talked for hours and hours and hours and hours on Capitol Hill, trying to filibuster this big, beautiful bill, which we'll get into. But the one big, beautiful bill is for Main Street, he says. That is Scott Bessent. It increases wages and addresses the affordability crisis for Americans, thanks to the leadership of President Donald Trump. And if you have not heard, very positive news, the one big, beautiful bill has passed, has been signed, is heading to the president's desk to become law, and that will be happening tomorrow. Crazy how it works, right? 4th of July is tomorrow, and then all of a sudden, President Trump gets to sign his special, big, beautiful bill, kicking off independence for America as he's been preaching. Really interesting how that timing just lined up perfect. Much needed and much deserved relief for hardworking Americans on the way. Now, there has been a lot of infighting. There's about a lot of outfighting with this big, beautiful bill. Let me know down in the comment section. Do you believe the big, beautiful bill is positive for America? Or do you think it is a Trojan horse, bad case scenario? So I was up this morning at 5:30 when this news came out. U.S. economy added 147,000 jobs in June, higher than expected, and people were losing their minds, like I was saying. Also, big, important information that came out today. Native-born workers added 830,000 jobs versus foreign-born workers who lost 348,000 jobs. So as a lot of people have been talking, there's a really crazy scenario going on where people are up in arms with what's going on with the immigration scenario. This is interesting, though. Immigration at the border has been quailed, been stopped, been shut down. There are actual deportations happening on a regular basis. So foreign-born workers, people are unfortunately getting deported away. If they're here illegal, then that's great for American jobs. And as you can see here, people who are native-born, born in America, are actually going back to take those jobs. Now, a lot of people used to say, well, Americans are the laziest people in the world. They would never go do those jobs. Well, this proves otherwise as far as the numbers go. And on top of that, if you've ever followed politics very closely, the job creation market, like we just covered, the fact that non-farm payroll jobs that were not farm jobs were up by 147,000 this month. Those are private sector jobs as well. And if you remember from previous administrations, they were always talking about all these new jobs. There were all these new jobs they were adding, all these new jobs they were adding. But what they were just doing was adding federal workers. They were adding people to employment within our own government, which then costs taxpayers money. Well, take a look at this. Federal workers down for the 5th month in a row. So people, they are downsizing the government. They are upsizing the people getting jobs in traditional workplace. The private sector continues to grow. The public sector, aka jobs for the government, continues to decline. That is a good win for Americans in the long run. Also great for Americans. Take a look at this. The U.S. Federal Housing and Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac chairman calls on Congress to investigate Jerome Powell. He says, I'm asking Congress to investigate Chairman Powell, his political bias, and his deceptive Senate testimony, which is enough to be removed for cause. Jerome Powell's $2.5 billion building renovation scandal stinks to high heaven, and he lied when asked about the specifics before Congress. This is nothing short of malfeasance and worthy for the cause. As Senator Cynthia Lummis said, he, Jerome Powell, made a number of factually inaccurate statements to the committee regarding the Fed's plush private dining room and elevator skylights, water features, and roof terrace, and that this is typical of the mismanagement and don't bother my attitude that Chair Powell has always shown. Chair Powell needs to be investigated by Congress immediately. And this was coming out from Pulte, Bill Pulte, the head of the Housing Administration. So this is absolutely crazy what's going on. The waste, fraud, and abuse is getting pushed out of the government, and the American people in the long run will benefit from many, many things coming in the future. And on top of that, we also have Trump's executive director, Bo Hines, says the crypto industry will probably go to 15 to 20 trillion after stablecoin legislation becomes law. So this is a longer video. I'm not going to play that for you, but enough with the politics for today. But everything today was a political deal. Really great news for the American people. Really great news for our long-term financial outlook, which is surprising because we don't ever really get to talk about things positively like that for us, the normal people. Main Street, as they call it, like they're marketing the big beautiful bill. Now, as the big beautiful bill rolls out, it is going to be signed tomorrow. I hope that the actual laws in that bill will help benefit us. So far, we're on track for them too, and you can tell that because the competitors to the bill were screaming so loudly that it must be good for us. Now, one negative news is what we talked about just a couple of minutes ago. Rate cut expectations have plummeted because the economy is doing so well with all of those jobs. Yep, unfortunately, it looks like we may not be getting rate cuts in July after all. In fact, we may not even be getting rate cuts in September now. All right, let's talk about more crypto news, XRP news. This was something massive that came out just a couple of days ago, that the SEC was going to go ahead and pass Grayscale's movement to get their coins into an ETF instead of an ETP. But unfortunately, the SEC has paused Grayscale's plan to convert their digital large cap fund into a spot ETF, which would have covered Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, Solana, and ADA. So that would have been the first ever United States-based ETF approved for XRP. It hasn't happened yet, unfortunately. The application is now under further review, delay or denial incoming. And if you've seen this was a crazy story that was going around a couple of days ago. I had to bring it up because I like these types of stories. An individual who bought a 100 Bitcoin gold Cassius bar for $500 back in 2011 recently sold it for $10 million. So the cojones on this guy to hold this in the first place. And then he bought 100 Bitcoin gold Cassius bar in 2011 and held it all the way through that. I mean, this has been growing and growing and growing. The gentleman who had it, he said, now that it's worth over $10 million, I knew I couldn't just keep sitting on it. So yeah, even though I was kind of unsure, I finally redeemed it today. So good for him. A massive, massive win. Also, positive news for Ripple coming out. BitMEX becomes the first exchange to accept RLUSD as margin on its derivatives trading platform. And obviously the biggest possible news ever for Ripple coming out last night on the 2nd. True to our long-standing compliance roots, Ripple is applying for a national bank charter from the OCC. If approved, we would have both state via the NYDFS and federal oversight, a new and unique benchmark for trust in the stablecoin market. Earlier this week, via standard custody, we also applied for a Fed master account, while Congress is working towards clear rules and regulations, and banks, in a far cry from the year's Operation Choke Point 2.0, are leaning in. This access would allow us to hold RLUSD reserves directly with the Fed and provide an additional layer of security to future-proof trust RLUSD. Ripple always has and will continue to build trusted, battle-tested, and secure infrastructure in a $250 billion market. RLUSD stands out for putting regulation first, setting the standard that institutions expect. With that being very positive news for RLUSD and Ripple, well, unfortunately, there's some very negative news for one of their massive competitor. New York bankruptcy judge gives Celsius the green light to pursue a $4.3 billion lawsuit against Tether. Celsius has accused Tether of improperly liquidating nearly 40,000 Bitcoin in order to cover an outstanding loan while it was on the precipice of bankruptcy in 2022. So the interesting thing here about Tether is it's not MiCA compliant, which is the Euro standard for stablecoins. It does not or possibly will not apply for standards for the stablecoin bill, the Genius Act in the United States. So if all of a sudden USDT can't be used in the United States and it can't be used in Europe, well, what happens to USDT? All right, and as for you being here this late in the video, I want to go ahead and give you a reward. We do give away $100 XRP every single week. Congratulations to Pat for winning last week's. You can win this week. We give it away every single Sunday night at midnight Eastern time. If you want to win, all you have to do is follow us, BullRunners HQ here on X.com, like, retweet, and comment XRP below this post. Subscribe to our daily crypto newsletter by clicking the link. That will bring you to this page. You're going to click the orange button. This will also get you our free ebook, Altcoin Secrets, the underground guidebook to becoming a crypto millionaire. Click the orange button, enter your best email address, and then click the orange button one more time, and you're all set. And remember, you have to like, repost, and comment. And there's only 53 of these three altogether. So there's only 53 entries. You definitely have a chance of winning this. Head over to X right now. Enter for your chance to win today. XRP futures open interest jumping 30% as the price chart pennant targets $3.20. So let's take a look at this. After we go through this, we'll go ahead and jump into the charts and price out and chart out for ourselves as well. But I always like to bring in other expert analysts to find out what they have to say. XRP breaks out of the pennant on the weekly chart, hinting at a 40% gain up to $3.20. Increasing open interest is backing this uptrend. XRP rose in tandem with the wider crypto market on Thursday, fueled by the number of factors, including Ripple's application for a banking license, which we've covered, SEC's approval of Grayscale's digital large cap fund conversion to spot ETF. Unfortunately, that was paused, but that's okay. The recent partnership also with OpenPaid and elevated odds of a spot ETF approval on its own from many other applications on top of the Grayscale. And yes, that is correct. Ripple and OpenPaid are expanding access to fast, compliant cross-border payments. Now, when we take a look at right here, XRP open interest chart from CoinGlass, you can see that price, which is the orange line, is relatively sideways here, starting to take a peek to the upside. As you can see, open interest has been climbing since mid-June on this nice trajectory just as of recently, July 3rd, though, with a massive spike to the upside. Meanwhile, XRP's long-short ratio across all exchanges is currently skewed towards bullish position at 68%. While this introduces long liquidations risks, it underscores rising confidence in XRP's upside potential. So as you can see here, long versus short, you can see this massive spike to the upside on the long-short options. On top of that, we also have a pennant playing out. So there's a couple of things here. One, they're doing a very short target here with just the pennant pattern, but there's also the flag pole for the bull flag pattern, which we'll talk about later. But as you can see right here, since we have a strong resistance level along the top, a strong support level along the bottom, it has been ricocheting back and forth. There has been a breakout as of this week's candle, which we do have 2 days left in that candle. But you can see what you do is you go to the tallest point from the resistance to the support level, and you move that over into the area for your target. And that gives us a level of 40% to the upside at $3.20 for the target. Now, several other analysts have also predicted XRP short-term price target above $3, citing persistent whale accumulation, institutional demand for a possible spot ETF, and improving regulatory clarity. Let me know your price prediction down in the comments section. So jumping over into the XRP charts right now, an interesting scenario is playing out. So as we've seen, we've pushed up into these levels multiple times and then rejected. We've pushed up to this level, rejected, pushed up in this level, rejected. We even pushed up hardcore with bodied candles and rejected to the downside. All of that was happening when our long-term bullish momentum indicator, the Wolfpack indicator, was in the red, indicating bullish scenario. Now, what just happened? We have spiked through the zero line. We are now officially showing green. This is very important that we continue to maintain above the zero line on the Wolfpack indicator, giving us bullish sentiment and momentum. As you can see right here, last time we crossed over, price came up, rechecked, and retest off the zero line and made its massive move. So price broke out from right here, came back, retested to the $2.12 level, and then flew all the way up to the $2.65 level. That was a 50-cent move that happened in this area before a recovery to the downside. So right now, showing great signs, pushing to the upside. Short-term momentum waves, however, have peaked out. Very well could come back down for a reset before making its way to the upside. Let's take a look at the weekly charts. Weekly charts is still showing bullish momentum. We are seeing in our short-term momentum waves, however, unfortunately, we are leveled out at zero. And we've been riding the zero for weeks. We had this little slight attempt to make the move to the upside, failed, and we're still riding the bottom. The reason that this is so important on such a larger time frame, as we can see last time, we had this reset down to the zero line on the short-term momentum, and then the push to the upside, we had a massive spike in price. And that's what we're waiting for right now. We want to see our green short-term momentum wave down here curl to the upside. Now, the reason that's important, because if we look at Bitcoin, it did happen already, right? So last time, Bitcoins came down, and then the short-term momentum wave made its move to the upside, and it went from 78,000 all the way up to 112,000. At that time on the weekly, we can see that our long-term momentum indicator was riding green in the bullish. When we take a look here at this indicator again on the daily charts, it was riding red. We were not doing well in price action here. Boom, we flashed back above the zero line on Bitcoin. And what happened? Price rose from $85 or $85,000 to $112,000. XRP, unfortunately, is not in the green. And so it has not had that boost of pressure. Let's check in on our more short-term scenarios here. So a couple of things. As you can see, we had this resistance zone that we've been talking about from June 16th. Price did push into it once here on June 30th. Also again today, $2.30. What have we been talking about? If you've been following along, we've been following this as price moves to the upside. It needs to break above $2.33. Once it breaks $2.33, then we can see our move up to $2.43. Why is $2.43 so important? Well, that is our high that we did not break yet. This is for new market structure. What we're trying to change, the new market structure will happen when we have a bodied candle close above $2.44. So that's where ultimately we need to push to. In the short term, what do we have? Well, down to the bottom, we have a support here at $2.15. We pushed above it, came back, retested it. Next day, moved to the upside. So we are trapped in this little zone right here. We would love to see that push above 233 to make it to 243. If for some reason we all of a sudden got bearish again, some sort of negative news. I mean, right now we're riding high. The government's doing well. The economy's doing well. Jobs are doing well. All of this, stock market's hitting new all-time highs. Why isn't crypto pushing harder, right? Well, we are starting to see that shift of momentum to the upside. But on a bearish scenario, we will have $2.15 as a support level right here. If we lose that, we'll be coming back into the zone 208 to 205, which we can see that pushed up, came back, retested there, and took off. And if for some reason we lose those zones, $1.90 will be there for us again. So that is your standard charting supply and demand zones. Let's go ahead and take a look at our weekly spider lines chart. Now, this one's really interesting way of charting. This comes from Crypto Face on YouTube, where you take the spider lines, and you draw on the weekly charts, you draw a ray, the ray tool in the chartings right here, the ray, you draw it from the drops of the 2018, and you pivot from the highs, this one from 2021. Now, obviously, depending on which coin you're doing, you're going to get different levels, and that's totally fine. But right now, we are just using these levels. And then they draw out lines into the future, and they've been spot on. Take a look at where we're at right now. So this week, our weekly candle ends in 3 days and 1 hour. Price pushed up into that exact level, and this level comes to us from January 22nd, 2018, and right now it is acting as a resistance. Last time price pushed up to the higher side, boom, prices got up in here, right here, right here, right here, rejected off $2.52. So on the weekly spider lines, this is a more long-term observation as far as pricing goes, more like swing style trading. We push and break $2.25 with a weekly candle body close. Continue that up into $2.54. After we break and close that, then we'll be able to move up into the 290s. And to look at how spot on this is, look at where this candle closed right here, boom, right off the spider line. Look at the all-time high candle, boom, right off a spider line. Even on this most recent drop, that nasty drop, where did it hit? Boom, right off the spider line. So spider lines work really well on all different coins. You just draw them differently on each coin. In fact, take a look at this. When price broke out, this comes from the start, which were from January, the candle from the week of January 1st, 2018, the previous all-time high candle, $3.31. And then you draw from the pivot point 2021, when price, which was sitting under that level for so long, finally broke that level. So the previous all-time high with the pivot point in the middle of the all-time high 2021, when price finally broke and confirmed out of this level and then retested that zone, ripped to the upside. That is absolutely nuts that that level was so important. And then when you break it down to the daily charts, on the rip to the upside, what happened? Price got to this level, sat there and chilled for a minute. Price just ripped through these, though, didn't want to care. Look at this level right here, been support, extremely strong support levels right here, all the way along these different times. It's even been resistance. Right now it's resistance. So we need to break this, move up to 250, then move up to 84, 287. But this is great news. We did finally break above the zero line on the spider line. We have been under it since May 29th. We've been bearish since May 29th, finally cracking into some bullish momentum. We need to make sure this isn't short-lived if it just immediately crashes back down. But with this great uproar, what's going on in the economy, we could see this rise.
Hey, bull runners, check this out. If you want to learn how to find the next 10x, 50x, or even 100x altcoin in this video, listen to this. Our research team posted GOAT on the 13th of October of 2024 when it was right at a penny, and since then it rallied to over $1 and is currently still up over 5,000%. That's like turning $1,000 into over $50,000. Our team called Pendle at only a $16 million market cap, or 16 cents, back on February 18th of 2023, all the way back here, and since then it's rallied up over 4,000%. That's a 40x. It's like turning $1,000 into over $40,000. Our team also called BitTensor Tau September 15th, 2022, before the token was ever even launched. And since then, Tau has rallied over 2,000%. That's a 20x. Our team even said Solana is most likely to be one of the easiest trades next year, and this was posted December 29th, 2022, on the day that Solana bottomed out at around $8. And since then, Solana looks like it's up over 2,500%. That's a 25x. It's like turning $1,000 into over $25,000. And the bull run is just getting started. The list goes on and on and on. Our team called Sui, Ondo, and even some of the biggest cult-based meme coins like MOG back in July 20th of 2023, the day that MOG launched. So if you want to learn how our team is finding these altcoins before they explode, we just launched Altcoin Pro University, where our research team gives you real-time altcoin picks with explosive potential for this bull run, along with 100+ expert curated classes crafted by industry experts to discover these gems yourself, on top of our live weekly calls every single week for in-depth crypto market analysis and daily updates. And that's just a fraction of what we offer inside of Altcoin Pro University. Just go through the link in the description below, get in right now, watch the 26-minute video covering everything that Altcoin Pro University offers,